going on there, YouTube? Back again on this new Ratrod build. I think I'm going to put this fuel tank on it. This is a 3D printed fuel cell that I got from Nightcrawler's 3D a while ago. He has all kinds of little accessories and stuff that can be printed pretty easily. I've done some sanding on it already, and I've drilled some holes. It's pretty solid, thick walls. It'll be sturdy, and it happens to fit perfectly between my frame rails on the back here. So that's what I'm looking at doing today. I think I'm gonna paint it chrome. If you remember back these seats here that we got from Awesome Designs Shapeways store, I did those with the chrome paint and did a black wash on them, and they came out pretty cool. They look very weathered. So I think I'm going to go for that look on the fuel tank. I started making another copper one. If you remember here on number 2, I made a copper fuel tank, and came out pretty awesome. But I started making another one for this, and I didn't have enough of all the tubing I needed, and I tried to use some scrap, and after I soldered it together, it looked pretty bad. So let's scrap that, and we'll go ahead and use the 3D printed one, because it's kind of the theme on this build. Everything is 3D printed for the most part, except for the chassis. Alright, so I've already figured out how I'm going to mount it. I've drilled a hole, a small hole on one side, and a larger hole on the other side. And I'm going to mount it to my upper shock mount here. And I'm going to drill a hole on one side of it, square tubing. And I'm going to put a bolt through there and put a nut on the inside of it, so it'll be kind of hidden, the mounting of it. You won't be able to see this big hole on the other side because it'll be against the cab. So it'll be kind of incognito. But yeah, I'm curious to see how the chrome paint takes to this. I've done quite a bit of sanding. You can still see some of the print marks. This was printed in PLA, so it's not the smoothest. But on little odds and ends now, he prints in ABS, and he's got a much better finish. But I had this, and it fits, so I figured I'd use it. So I've already got those holes drilled. I need to drill a hole on the chassis, and that's going to be fun to do because of where it is. May have to take the grill off. The cab comes right off still. I haven't got that permanently mounted yet, but trying to drill in from that way. So let's see what we can do. Alright guys, so I got the holes drilled. Everything is jiving like it should. I hadn't run the screw all the way through yet because I'm going to take it out here and paint it. Got my Rust-Oleum metallic chrome finish. This is the same stuff I used on the seats. Hopefully it's not clogged, because this is the last can I have of it. So cross your fingers. We'll take this thing outside. Alright guys, so I'm bored waiting on the paint to dry on the fuel tank. Just doing some mocking up. I've still got this Kevin Kirk engine, and it's pretty extreme for this type of build, but I'm just trying to see, because I'm planning on using the RC 4-wheel drive V8, and I don't have it yet, so I'm trying to gauge the size and where it's going to sit. I have the body moved back as far as it'll go. This engine is pretty massive, and I still don't have room for a grill on there. It is pretty cool looking, but I don't know. Also, I'm trying to just get an idea for the weight, because like I said, I'm probably going to have to stiffen up these shocks once I get all the running gear in, because it's going to be heavy. And this engine's pretty heavy, and it's a little soft, but it's still holding itself up in the front. The back is already kind of, yeah, the back doesn't want to go back up, so... The back shocks are definitely going to need some attention. Also, I was toying with the idea of moving the grill out to the front, which is really hard to mock up. And I'd set a little higher than that and straight up. I don't know about that look. It's a little too long. Plus, I don't know how I would mount it. That would be tricky to mount it on the axle like that. So I don't know. I was playing around with the grill a minute ago looking at steering options, because that's always, with these Ratrod builds, the steering is always a pain because you got to hide it. There's no good way to do it. On my number 1 build, I put it on the axle, got a micro servo, Savox, and it worked well. It's just, you see the axles on these, the Suicide front end, it's going to be out in the open. And my shock setup is going to be in my way quite a bit. Probably it's going to be inside of the grill. I'm going to have to get another micro servo. I didn't have anything small enough. I'm just trying to figure out where the servo horn can poke its head out of the grill and where it can still move and make good, line up good angles and stuff with the axle. I may end up making a elongated piece for this to bring the steering link to the back a little more, so that way it'll be behind the shocks completely. And because right now that's parallel with my shock mount, and that's not going to work. Alright, there's a much better angle. So, let me get this engine out of here. What I'm looking at for steering, move the light, is my grill sits back here. And my steering arm link right here for the drag link is going to be parallel with my front shock mount. So I'm probably going to have to extend this back, make some type of metal thing and bring it back another 6 or 8 mil. So that way my link can be parallel. You want to keep all your steering angles nice and parallel. But yeah, hiding the servo inside of the grill is going to be a challenge, and I guess, and I could come out on one side or the other, but I'm not gonna. It's gonna be tight to figure out where I'm gonna have enough range of motion, and I gotta keep it as hidden as possible. So like the micro servo will fit upright right here, and I can have the arm come out, but I don't know if it's gonna be far enough away from the shock tower to be able to turn both directions. So I'm gonna have to order another micro servo and start doing some mock-ups with that. I always try to, ever since the ordeal with the first one, I waited too late to the end to design the steering, and it was just a nightmare trying to figure it out. But I got it working, I got it figured out. But ever since then I've been trying to think about steering earlier on in the build, and didn't really happen with this one. My number 2 build, I basically designed the front end around where I was putting the servo. Even the frame width is made so the servo fits in between. But yeah, this time I got carried away with suspension, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to figure it out. I know everybody wants to see it, and I still want to do it, to have a actual link come out of the firewall at the side of the body and come all the way up and have that type of steering arm, but it's just not possible with these semi-truck axles. They're not wide enough, so when it turns, that your bar would be into the suspension or into the motor and against the grill. And I did that on the number 1 build. I did some tests, and I bent all kinds of rods, and I had the servo mounted in the cowl, and it just wouldn't work. It had all kinds of slop in it. I mean, it would wobble that much while you were driving it, and it was just, yeah. Need a wider front axle, and I've been talking with someone about that. I still got to get some measurements and stuff, trying to make a fabricate a metal axle that would be wider than these, but it's still a little ways off, so we'll just have to make do with this. One other thing I've considered doing, let me know what y'all think. I'm thinking about rusting the axles, the Yoda 2 axle in the rear and the straight axle in the front. I was going to use the real rust like I did on the body, because you know, this is all polished aluminum. The other one's black, and it's got that ARB diff cover, and I thought it might look cool to have the suspension, not the suspension, but the axles weathered. But let me know what y'all think. I'm not taking to it just yet. I'm still debating. I think it would look cool, but I don't want to have too much rust, if that's possible on this type of build. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna go check the paint. Alright guys, so I've been layering the paint on, so while that's still drying, I bought these a long time ago. This is from Shapeways, and I don't have any information. I don't even know how I ran across those. I probably had them for 2 years. They are 12mm hex adapters for solid axle rigs. So what that involves is you put a bearing on your shaft like that, and then this fits over it and spins, and then you put your 12mm hexed wheel on. And I bought those thinking this would be perfect for, if I can get it on there, there it is, for my rat rods. And that way I can use any wheel I want. But I can't. The problem I'm having is RC four-wheel drive issue. I'm running 1.9s on this truck. I wanted to use these wagon wheels, and I was going to weather them, and like I've got this one done on the back, and they're 5-lug. And apparently all RC four-wheel drive 5-lug wheels, 1.55s, 1.9s, they're all this type of hub. So they have this, they don't use a 12mm hex. The pin and the shaft just go straight through. And yeah, all the ones that have, even these 1.55s have it. Only the 6-lug wheels have this type of 12mm adapter. So, like I did on my number 1 build, and I didn't do anything on number 2. Number 2 was semi-wheel, so they just went right on with bearings. The number 1 build, I ended up using your standard adapter like this, and I just drilled it out and made it fit and put a bearing. What did I do on that one? That one had a deeper recess, so I could put a bearing on the outside of it and the inside. And it worked for those. You just couldn't tighten the nut all the way, but it was enough to get into the nylon so it wouldn't mess anything up. But this would be perfect, but I don't want to use any of these 6-lug wheels I have. I don't have any 1.9 wagon wheels that are 6-lug. I used to. I can't remember what it was. The Land Cruiser, the Jalon 2. One of my Jalon 2s came with 6-lug and one came with 5-lug. And I've since sold all my spare 1.9 wagon wheels except for this set. I thought I'd keep the 5-lug ones because that's more typical of an American vehicle. I come to find out I needed the 6-lugs. So I'm not sure yet how I'm going to handle this. This one is just on there, but you can see all the slop in it. So I could make a sleeve for the spindle, maybe out of some copper or something, and put it on there, but it's still not going to have any ball bearings. And this eats up the extra slack because without anything on it, that's with the nut all the way tight. I have about 1/4 inch of movement on the spindle, and this makes it all fit perfect, and the nut will tighten down and everything will be fine and dandy. And it might get me just a little bit wider stance, which would be handy. With these narrow tires, it might look a little better. Also, I'm out of ball bearings. I found 2 random ones. This is from an RC four-wheel drive gearbox, and the other one's, I don't even know what. It's new, but I don't know where it came from. So I'm not sure yet. I hate to have to buy new wheels just for that, and I'm going to weather them anyway. But we'll see what I can run across. I've got piles of wheels in the other room. I need to go dig through and make sure I absolutely do not have any of what I'm looking for. Alright guys, there it is. The paint almost dry enough. I went ahead and rushed it because I was getting impatient. I put probably 10 heavy coats on that with that chrome paint. That stuff really smooths out. I mean, you can just sit there and watch. You spray it and you see little dots in it, and it just kind of flattens out and gives you a nice smooth finish. I didn't weather it yet. I'm not sure yet on that, so I'm going to wait. I need to let it dry for a couple days before I do that anyway. The ends have a pretty bad texture. I coated it on and coated it on, but still didn't smooth out as well as the cylinder part of it did. But it fits perfect in there, and I think it looks the part. I painted the filler cap gloss black instead of flat black. I think it looks good. But we'll just have to wait and see. I did some experiments with my rust and some paint and some stuff while I was filming all this, so I'm not 100% certain that I may not change something on the body. So I'm kind of just playing it by ear. I couldn't fit a nylock nut inside of there, so I had to use a standard, like just a 3mm nut, and I put some Loctite on it so it won't come loose. You really can't see the hole on the other side, so luckily I won't be in the way and look nasty. But I'm liking it. It came out a lot smoother than I thought it would. I did very minimal sanding on it. It was difficult to sand because of the filler neck sticking off of it. Probably should have just cut that off and smoothed it and then drilled a hole and made my own filler neck, but you know, it was already there. I figured, what the heck, I'm just making do with what I have already. Now you can see it a little bit better. It's kind of hard to catch because the lighting reflecting off of it's messing with the camera. But I like it. That's the perfect thing to fill in that gap right there. I had all that space, the way the frame angles back. You can see the frame angles back like that, so even if I do have to move the body back, I still have room, like I was looking at doing for depending on how the V8 fits. But I like it setting more level like this. Still may have to do some trimming. So anyway, yeah, these you can contact Nightcrawlers 3D through Instagram or Facebook, and yeah, he's got all kinds of little odds and ends like this, headlights, and he's even got his own scale engine now that you can fit a can motor inside of. That's pretty cool. But anyway, appreciate you guys watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more to come. We still got a long way to go on this build, and I can't wait to drive it. I'm excited to see how this suspension handles, because I think I might be able to actually drive this around in the dirt, and it'd be a whole lot more fun than my number 2 was, because it's so low. You couldn't really drive it on anything but perfectly smooth concrete. But yep, that's it, guys. See y'all in the next one.